Alright, what's up world? It's your boy Akeem from Pro Football Exclusive, here to continue with my rankings for each position for the 2014 fantasy football season. Now for today's blog, I'm actually only going to give you one particular blog instead of splitting things up with two parts and give you my top 15 defenses for this season. And I think the reason why I had to go with 15 instead of my normal 20 compared to the other positions is because there's only 32 teams in the National Football League, so I decided just to split things in half. Plus, most leagues, respectively, when the commissioners, GMs for each teams for the leagues, they only go with one defense compared to just two defensive players, defensive teams for their teams respectively, because the defense is kind of like, in a way, least important, and you really stick with one defense throughout the entire season and still pick up a defense during the free agency pool. And that's why I had to go with the top 15 instead of the top 20. Now, before I get things started, I'd like to give you some honorable mention defenses, starting with the Houston Texans with the addition of Jadeveon Clowney, him along with J.J. Watt. That is very scary, as I said before. As also the Pittsburgh Steelers, they picked up Ryan Shazier. I think he's a good defensive outside linebacker, a great pickup. And also the Chicago Bears, who actually cleaned up during the offseason, particularly with their D-line and signing Jared Allen as well as Lamar Houston to replace Henry Melton, who is now a Dallas Cowboy. Now I'm going to start things off at number 15, the Indianapolis Colts. I think they had a pretty good, solid season, and the reason why I put him at 15, I would have ranked him higher had Robert Mathis has not been out. He's actually going to be out indefinitely, but when he joins back into the team, I think he would definitely help you out with some valuable fantasy points. So I think you should go with the Indianapolis Colts and the late rounds of this year's draft for the future, especially when Robert Mathis rejoins the team. At number 14, I'm going to have to go with the Cleveland Browns with Dante Whitner and the signing of Carlos Dansby to help out that defense. Even though they did lose TJ Ward and DeQuell Jackson, they still picked up a great safety and a linebacker to go along with this great young defense. They still need to get a big-time pass rusher, a good sack leader, and both Paul Kruger as well as Barkevious Mingo need to step it up this season and show that they could become elite pass rushers. At number 13, I'm going to go with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, they continue to have a great defense, and why they have a great defense is because they think about the future and picking up great selections. With their first two picks of this year's draft, they went with C.J. Mosley from Alabama and Tim Jernigan from Florida State. Jernigan's a defensive tackle, so hopefully he can replace Haloti Ngata, and they picked up C.J. Mosley, who could be that next Ray Lewis for the Ravens, and I think this is a great thing. And also, even though their offense is terrible, and offense is part of the defense's play, because of the offense that gives up too many turnovers, that puts the defense more on the field and more vulnerable of giving out more points. And that's part of the reason why defensive teams and special teams don't really deliver high percentage points for your fantasy play. Now, only my top 5 teams average actually 10 points per game. Only the top 5 teams, according to ESPN last season, averaged 10 points per game. That's really not bad, but you wish that you're compared to like running backs and quarterbacks and your receivers, you want them to average more than 10 points per game. But because of the defense has struggled a little bit last season, it's because of the terrible play on the offensive side. And for the Baltimore Ravens, I think they're gonna progress this season on the offensive side. I think Joe Flacco could be due for a better season compared to a terrible year last season. At number 12, I'm going to have to go with the Buffalo Bills. Now, yes, they did lose Darius Byrd, but they still re-signed Aaron Williams. And also, they did lose Kiko Alonso just recently, torn his ACL. That is a huge loss, but they have a great front line with Mario Williams as well as Marcel Darius. These two players could definitely help stop the run and even get to the quarterback. That is a plus. I still think because they have such a young team, they still have a lot of potential. At number 11, I have to go with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with the signing of Michael Johnson. I think that was a great signing, and let's not forget about Levante David. I think he could become a good candidate for Defensive Player of the Year. And at number 10, I'm going to have to go with the New Orleans Saints. Now, they picked up a great player in Darius Byrd, and also during this past season in the draft, they picked up a great cornerback who I think has a good potential to become a star in the National Football League, and Stanley Jean-Baptiste. I think these were two great pickups, especially in the offseason with Darius Byrd, to work along with Kenny Vaccaro. I think that defensive secondary can be be pretty stacked. And I think because with the emergence of Cameron Jordan, I think that was a great season he had last season, making it to the Pro Bowl. That's why I had him cracked in the top 10. At number 9, I'm going to have to go with the New England Patriots with the signing of Darrell Revis Allen. He's actually fitting well with that defense overall. And they also have a good front seven with Rob Ninkovich, who had 8 sacks last season. Let's not forget about Vince Wilfork, even though he kind of no longer wants to be on the team. And Chandler Jones, who registered 11.5 sacks last season. I think this defense could be pretty good this upcoming year, even though they did lose Aqib Talib to my number 8 team, the Denver Broncos. Now, they placed 14th last season according to ESPN, but they picked up some key players on defense with DeMarcus Ware, Aqib Talib, as I mentioned before, from the New England Patriots, as well as TJ Ward from the Cleveland Browns. That defense should be stacked, and this thing better work this upcoming year. And let's not forget about Von Miller, and they already have a great offense led by NFL MVP Peyton Manning. I think that this defense could perform pretty well, especially with the help of Peyton Manning on the offensive side to keep the defense off the field. But when they're on the field, they're fully ready, they're fully healthy, and they have enough breathing time to rest up in between series. At number 7, I'm going to have to go with this Kansas City Chiefs. Now, they were the sleepers last season, placing 3rd overall with 179 points. And I think with the addition of D Ford, I was a little bit disappointed with their first round pick. I still think they should have went with a wide receiver. But D Ford is a great backup for Tamba Ali and Justin Houston, who both registered double-digit sacks last season. But the one problem that they do have is their secondary. Eric Berry is pretty much all they have left. He's going to have to do all the work. He has no help due to the salary cap of the Kansas City Chiefs. They couldn't pick somebody well off during the offseason, and they lost Brandon Flowers, who is now a San Diego Charger. That's why I have him at number 7. At number 6, the Cincinnati Bengals, who placed 4th overall last season, 176 points. Now, they lost Michael Johnson, but I believe that Wallace Gillaby can actually, who's entering his 7th season from Alabama. I think he had 7.5 sacks last season, and hopefully he can improve this upcoming year. At number 5, I'm gonna have to go with the Arizona Cardinals. 164 points last season, placed in 5th overall. I'm sticking with 5th, and they still picked up a great defensive players with Deion Buchanan from Washington, as well as Kareem Martin from UNC. Now, they need a linebacker who has a nose for the football and register a lot of tackles to replace Carlos Dansby, but I still think that Darrell Washington can bounce back from what his low performance last year. At number 4, I'm going to have to go with the St. Louis Rams. They placed 7th overall with 145 points, but TJ McDonald, that is one particular player I think everybody should keep an eye on. I think he could be due for a good sophomore campaign, and let's not forget about the defensive ends, and Chris Long, as well as Robert Quinn. Both of them registered double-digit sacks last season. I think both of these two players can get Defensive Player of the Year award because they have an outstanding defense. And also the reason why I have them at 4th overall, ranked 4th, is because the return of Sam Bradford. Hopefully that offense can give the defense more breathing time in between series and score some points instead of committing turnovers and struggling on the offensive side due to the lack of effort at the quarterback position. But Sam Bradford's back, and I think that will definitely help out the defense a lot. That's why I put him at number 4. At number 3, the San Francisco 49ers, Navarro Bowman. Hopefully he needs to get back from that knee injury. That was so hurtful. I felt it right here when he got hurt in that NFC Championship matchup, and hopefully he can have a comeback season working along with Patrick Willis. And they did pick up Shane Scove during the free agency after this year's draft. Hopefully things will turn out for him. And they also picked up Chris Borland, the great linebacker from Wisconsin, which is a good pickup, and Jimmy Ward, the safety from the Illinois Huskies. Now, this was a surprise pick with their first pick of this year's draft, because they already have Eric Reed, who made it to the Pro Bowl this past season, but they still keeping that defense stacked. I think they could still use some help in the cornerback position. At number 2, the Carolina Panthers, to place 2nd overall with 185 points. Charles Johnson and Defensive Player of the Year award winner Luke Kuechly. They have a stacked defense. Hopefully they can make it back to the playoffs this year, but Cam Newton's going to have to do a lot more work because he lost a key player in Steve Smith on the offensive side. So we'll see how things will turn out this upcoming year. And at number 1, this was an obvious choice for me, the Seattle Seahawks, who had 195 points last season. They have a stacked defense, great players over on every level, and I did like to pick up a Jackson Jeffcoat from free agency for this past season's draft. Hopefully he can make the 53-man roster and hopefully emerge as a good defensive end opposite of Michael Bennett, but they still have some great players like Bruce Irvin. He needs to bounce back this season, and even Richard Sherman. He does talk a lot of trash, but he backs it up. And let's not hate on him. He makes teams choke just like he did against the Denver Broncos with Peyton Manning, as well as my man Colin Kaepernick in that NFC Championship matchup. He basically was the reason why the interception occurred at the end of the game and showed that the 49ers choked, which they kind of did in that matchup. I have to be honest. But Richard Sherman is an outstanding player, helping leading that defense. Now I'm gonna have to talk about my bust and sleeper this season. Let's first talk about the bust. I think the team that's most vulnerable of having a bust season is the Kansas City Chiefs. Even though they have some great pass rushers, they really don't have any secondary except for Eric Berry, and this is going to be very vulnerable, shows them very vulnerable on that defense. They do have a great leader in Derek Johnson at linebacker, but they don't really have too much help in the secondary, and I think teams are definitely going to attack that secondary, which is a major concern. That's why I think they have a chance of busting this season. Now, my sleeper this year, I'm going to have to go with the New York Jets. They have some great players with Calvin Pace, as well as Muhammad Wilkerson. I think he's a great player who had 10 plus sacks this past season, and I do like the pickup of Calvin Pryor from the Louisville Cardinals with their first pick in the first round of this year's draft. I think that was an excellent selection. Working with him and D. Milliner, a young secondary, I think they can wreak havoc on the defensive side, but they need some help offensively, and if the offense keep the defense off the field in between series and give them some rest in between series, I think this could help out the defense and score a lot more points in fantasy play, and that's why I have him as a sleeper of 2014. Now, the next time I'm going to catch you guys will be tomorrow, where I will wrap up with all of my rankings with my top 15 kickers. Thank you for watching today's vlog from Pro Football Exclusive. I'm your man, Akeem McCall. Be easy.